Hey everybody, KC0VI Tom. Getting used to this new. We have a new camera and mic, so we got to talk a little about that. Then we're going to talk about something else. As you can tell, we're here in Tigger, and there's Duke. Hey Duke. Yeah. Okay. We got a couple kind of neat stuff we want to talk about. First item, get a new camera. Last couple of weeks, been fighting with. Duke ate the mic, part of the mic off the old Wolfgang, and when he grabbed the mic cable and pulled it, I didn't realize he actually broke the jack inside the Wolfgang camera. That was a GA4200, which is a real nice camera. And a lot of these Chinese replica knockoff cameras with the GoPros and the DJIs, they're hard to find right now. I've been digging around trying to find one. I'll get an email from Walmart or from Amazon saying they have them. You go to order them and you get an email next day saying it'll be 30 days out before you get them. Those are pretty much right now you can't get. And over the holiday weekend, I was out with friends and my sisters, 2 different days there, and stopped in at a couple stores, and I was really surprised. The Best Buy store I was at in Rochester, they had 5 GoPros total, a couple of 4s, a 5, and a 6 Heroes, GoPro Heroes. No, excuse me, 10s, 11s, and 12s, and that was it. They didn't have any of the newer ones at all, and it was the DJIs. They had a couple 4s, a 5, and a 6 of those, and I asked the salesman what's going on. He says, we just can't get them. And on the way home here to St. Ansgar, I was cutting through Austin. I said, oh, why not? Walmart's always telling me they got something. So we swung in there, and they had nothing. I mean, they had no GoPros in display. They had accessories, and they had this little Vivitar on the shelf. I was working with the salesperson, and kind of did some research on it. Let me reach back here. Wolfgang, I'll use this as B-roll. This is a 24 megapixel pickup unit. Okay, this Vivitar has 54. Big update, so okay, this is good. And we'll take a look at it here real quick through the magic of editing. As you can see, it's kind of like one of those old style palm or handheld camcorders with DVI tape. It does have a display that you can flip around, so if you're interviewing yourself, you can see what's going, which is something I really enjoy. I've cut my head off too many times. Then on the side here, inside, we have some controls, a real nice display. In the back, we got a spot for the mic, HDMI output, and the USB for charging. It does on top has a zoom control. That zoom is digital, so it's a little jerky, but we didn't have zoom before, so this is going to be hopefully a good improvement. It does have a tripod mount in the bottom, so that as you can see here, I'm using some of my GoPro and my Wolfgang, accessories on it, so it should be pretty good. So hopefully now the production will get back to where it's supposed to be better. Well, it's never as good as I want it to, but it's going to be a big improvement, at least be able to understand the audio. What we want to talk about today is the AV setup we have here in Tigger. Tigger is a 2022 NewCamp Tab 320S. Now in 24-25, the S has been replaced with the Classic. This is a bare bones NewCamp Tab camper. Some people ask, well, what do you need an AV setup for your camping? You're supposed to be out enjoying the great outdoors. Well, Duke, he's trying to make a nest. Hey, knock it off over there. You're not going to have perfect weather all the time. You're going to, thinking you're going to have sunshine is like waiting for rainbows and unicorns to come along. You're going to have days that's going to be hot, it's going to be muggy, it's going to be buggy, it's going to be thunderstorm, it's going to be windy. You're going to set inside the camper for a couple hours for the storm front to pass, or the bugs to settle down, or the heat of the day to pass. So it's nice to have something to do while you're in there. The camper I came from, which was a Class C motorhome, it was a 1991 Jayco 2300RB. RB stood for rear bath. The AV setup I had there was real nice. It had 2 TVs, one in the bedroom, one up front. It had stuff, we could watch stuff off satellite or off air, or recorded shows. So, and learned a lot from that. One of the things I learned was that all the AV equipment stacked up in the shelf, and it seemed like it was always the bottom unit that needed repair or replaced or upgraded. And I'm trying to come up with a way of how to improve that here. And at the time I was watching some documentary on YouTube of NASA in the early days of the space shuttle program, And back then they were talking about the schedule was a shuttle would be lifting off once every other month. A very, very aggressive schedule they thought they could do. And to handle that schedule, a lot of the stuff was going to be easily removed from the shuttle main body, like the main motors are quick release. They can pop those out and replace them with refurbished units. In the scientific bay, all the scientific test equipment and experiments would be on a pallet. They were going to palletize everything. And I went, ooh, that's a good idea. And here in the tab, up here, this is where your microwave would normally go in this cabinet. The bathroom's there, and radio's there, live at 5. And the couple that ordered this brand new from New Camp, were tent campers. They ordered it from a dealer in Mankato, Minnesota. And since they were tenters moving up to the world, they didn't think they needed a microwave, so they didn't opt for the microwave. So when you do that, you get a nice little cabinet with a door on the front. And okay, that gives me a clue. So what I did was measure it inside and took some plywood and some round stock and figured out what I need to do. And there's 2 screws up here, one here, one over there. I can loosen up those 2 screws. This will slide halfway out, turn it 90 degrees, and disconnect. There's 2 Ethernet cables, 2 coax cables, and a power cord. And this all will slide out nice and easily. So, kind of proud of myself on that. And so that was a quick, easy way. Now, the other thing that I ended up doing was the TV that came with the tab was a little Jensen 19-inch. And I had this larger one in the Class C, so I swapped out the TVs. The HDMI cable that feeds this TV actually would come from the Jensen stereo in the back. The idea is you hook up whatever you're going to show on the HDMI, port on the front, and it stripped the audio off, play them through the speakers, and play the video on the TV. When a camper this size, you don't need a sound reinforcement. The TV will put out enough. So when I slid that stereo out to remove the HDMI in the back, I came across that channel A speakers were hooked up, but channel B speakers were not. There's no B speakers. So I took and ran 2 speaker runs from that stereo over in this wall. There's a 2-inch PVC conduit that runs down the wall underneath this bench. And from there I went into the wet bay, which is over there. Also, when I ran that from the back here, I ran 2 RG59 coaxes down to here through the conduit, along with 2 Ethernet cables for a backbone mic. So I had that done, put that back in. Now the TV is fed by this little HDMI switcher here. This is 4 input and 1 output that feeds the TV, so I can select my 4 sources. Down here in the bottom, get the shot in right, Crowley. This is just a standard dish network along with the smart receiver or smart dish outside. It'll find the satellites automatically. Nothing much to talk about this. Got the card. I turned this on in the springtime on my home account. Then when I winterized the camper, I shut it off. Above it is a TiVo. Now, if you don't know about TiVos, a TiVo is like a VCR, but instead of a tape, it uses a hard drive. And so if you're looking at putting a TiVo into your rig, your RV, a couple things you want to remember. First one, the TiVos 5 and newer use an AC adapter. It converts the 120 down to 12 volts, and that is fed in the back of the TiVo unit. So what you could do is actually hook this up to your 12-volt electrical system, so when you're out boondocking, you have TiVo and you could play movies that you have pre-recorded. The other thing is lifetime service. There is a monthly service fee on these TiVos unless you buy a lifetime. And when you buy a lifetime, that is attached to the unit, not to the owner. And so when you go buy a used TiVo off eBay, Marketplace, or your normal garage sales, the owner of the TiVo can call up TiVo, have it removed from their account, and they're given a tag number or a ticket number. And when you put it on your account, you give them that ticket number, and it just speeds up the process. If you did not get a ticket number, they can still do it. It just takes a little bit of verification. The other thing on these is make sure you get one that's over-the-air reception. You know, the normal TV broadcast channels. They make TiVos that are mainly cable only, some are over the air only, and some are dual. They'll do both over the air and cable. So you want to make sure you get the right one. One side thing about the TiVos, if you have multiple TiVos in your house, you can actually record a show on the TiVo. In the living room, I got 2 TiVos, one on my off-air antenna, one on my satellite dish. I can record shows in there and transfer them out here so I can watch later if we're going camping. When this came in, it had a 500 gig hard drive, which is about 7 hours of recording time. There's a company called WeaKnees. It's kind of your TiVo parts store. You can buy parts for your TiVo. You can buy TiVos from them. You can send your broken TiVo in to get it fixed. And I ordered a 4 terabyte, which is 250 hours of record time, and I only got like 30% of it full. It's hardly full yet, so there's still a lot of room on there. So that, all my pre-recorded stuff I have in there, and so it's kind of nice when the weather's bad. We can watch some old shows. Right above it in the back, I don't know. Yep, there it is. There is a Roku, excuse me. And over here is a Lenovo little mini computer up there. That is mainly used for logging for the HF radio. When I finish, I'm still got to do a little work on the HF side here and on the other radios, but I'll have to put a USB cable from the computer down to the back of this AC radio, and that will allow me to do the digital methods or digital forms. So we have our 4 video sources. They go through the manual switcher, so we can select what we're going to watch on TV. Now all these devices need some type of internet connection. So that's where one of those Ethernet cables I ran down here, that runs over to by the wet bay. I found a drain tube that had a plug in it. We'll take a look what I did out there. The other Ethernet cable, I've got a HDMI to twisted pair converter. It's an active splitter also with this. So I split the output of that switch, and that goes down behind where I'm sitting. I'm going to put a jack on the wall outside. So I'm sitting outside, I can plug in an HDMI display panel and watch whatever's on the TV out there. Be kind of nice in the fall when the Golden Gopher football team's winning, or when the Iowa Hawkeyes team's getting beat up by Penn State again. Something to enjoy in the campgrounds. You listen to all the moans and groans here in Iowa. Okay, here in the wet bay, you can see up here, there's 2 1/4-inch jacks by that black coax. Those are for the external speakers. Then there's 3 RF connections there. The black one goes to the antenna. It was kind of strange when I first got the camper. I went sweep the TV signals. I came up with no TV signals. I started following the coax. The coax came from the TV to the wet bay, and that's where it stopped. New camp did not put an external antenna out there. The white coax is on the satellite connection. It's labeled SAT, and the one that's not being used is just labeled AUX. So you can run those cables down through that little hole there, where you run your water line up if you're going to use city water. I just got it ran out here for today. I was testing. This is just a dish playmaker. This is one of those automatic satellites that takes finds the satellites automatically and adjusts to it. When it's running, you can actually hear it run back and forth and sweep in the sky. It's quite interesting because when I go to set this up in a campground, usually I get 2 or 3 guys that come over looking and say, those things work, and they're standing right here in the way so it can't see the satellite. So you tell them, yeah, get out of the way and it'll find it real good. In front of the camper, don't worry about these 2 antennas, they're just playing around. Proof of concept there. But up on the front here, I took some PVC conduit. This is for electrical conduit. 1 1/4 and inch. The inch slides right inside the 1 1/4. And this is the TV antenna. This is one of the King, manufactured by King. It's just an Omni antenna. In the camper underneath the bench, there's a DC injector. It injects DC to here, the actual little amplifier. So it works pretty good. And I can actually extend these up. Oh, I believe these will go up 15 feet above, from the deal of the camper. And we'll say 12 feet, just to be, conservative. The coax runs down the inside. I got tie wrap there to hold it in place going down the road. Then I got regular hose clamps there. So that's the TV antenna. Then over here on this side, got the weather station head up here. That'll give you wind speed, humidity, and temperature outside. But this is that wave link, the Wi-Fi repeater, and the Ethernet cable comes down, runs down. Again, same setup. I can go up about 12 feet. Down there, I got the hose clamps on it. And not only when you connect to this through the computer, you put in the IP number, turn it on, and you log into it, and it will show you the list of all the Wi-Fi SSDs so it can see where you're at. And you can actually select it, put in the user or the passcode if it's encrypted, and it'll actually transfer that data into the Ethernet for everything inside. It'll also set up a small Wi-Fi off this for around here in the campsite, and I believe that one I have set up for Tigger, T-I-double-K-R, and so we're sitting outside the camper. We have Wi-Fi if there's no Wi-Fi in the campground. What do you say, Duke? Yeah, okay. He's always got to look at me, it seems like. One other thing I came across over the years of camping, we get our cell phones through Ting. Ting is they buy airtime in bulk from the major carriers in your area. Here in North Iowa, our two major carriers is Ting Mobile and Verizon. And what we did a long time ago is one phone would be on Ting Mobile and the other person's phone would be on Verizon. So when we got to some of these campgrounds, one of us always had data service, not both of us. And what we would do is, if her phone had better data than I, we'd set her phone up as a access point, and we just run off our iPads. We can do this. I can do the same thing here. I have my Comjet CJ1 on Ting Mobile. My iPhone is on Verizon. But instead of setting those up, I can set either one of those up as an access point. But I can also have that Wi-Fi repeater in front of the camper hooked up to it, and hook it up so I got stuff in here is getting the Wi-Fi. So on that, what do you say, little Duke? Getting a little warm, got to turn the air on. I shut the air off because the little fan was a little noisy. But what we're going to do is just hang out here for a little bit, see what we got on the tube, see what we got coming in. Anything you want to say to your fan club? No? Anything? I guess not. On that, hope I gave you some ideas on how to do your AV setup. Everybody's got their own little taste what they want to be able to do on a rainy afternoon or waiting for the storm to pass. What we'd like to do is watch old TV series, old movies. Like some of the stuff we have on there is recorded off the local TV station, so there are commercials. And that's one nice thing about TiVo. You can actually skip commercials on that. So, on that, anything else, Duke? We're going to watch golf. Sorry, Duke, we're not watching golf. Be sure to tell your friends, neighbors, other hams. Subscribe, hit that bell to get notification when new videos come up. Add comments below. 7-3, everybody. Do you mind?